Okay.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the Properties, Environment, and Economic Development Committee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Morse?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Mr. Beggs is excused by the chair for family reasons.
Mr. Erickson?
Here. Might we entertain an approval of the minutes of September 28th, 2023?
I'll make that motion, Morse.
Support Walker.
Motion made by Morse, supported by Walker. Any discussion? Any corrections or additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Would there be any changes to this agenda?
I would ask that you add the snowplow bid.
2023-117 snowplow bid motion will be added.
Thank you.
Any other corrections or additions to our agenda? Call for motion to approve.
Make that motion, Hardy.
I'll support that, Morse.
Made by Hardy, supported by Morse. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Public comment? Hearing none. Mr. McKean.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Gary
Morning,
McKean,
Gary.
Oceana County Parks. I've been asked to come before you to consider authorizing $2,175 for the Crystal Valley County Park Master Plan. So a little background on this. This was actually we filed as a Spark grant. Spark grants, you might recall, were something the DNR put into play a year ago. There was about $60 million in the pool, $20 million in the fall of last year, $20 million in the spring of this year, and then another $20 million we're supposed to be rolled out, granted out, I should say, in the summer of this year. So we weren't able to get into the first round simply because we didn't have all of our ducks in a row. So we looked at initially at Black Lake, doing a full revision, a full plan, building out the campground. That wound up coming back beyond what our bid level could be. Was about close to $2 million to build out Black Lake as we would like to have. So we then looked at the opportunity to get into the second round, which was again a $20 million grant application. And we looked to Crystal Valley Park. And Crystal Valley Park, we didn't have a plan, but it could be put together fairly quickly. So we were able to do that with the help of the Crystal Valley Townships being the facilitator of the grant. They have a little better opportunity in Crystal Valley because, as you know, in grants, everything is scored. And the scoring level for Crystal Valley is much higher than it would be for Oceana County because of their amount of poverty and the amount of the lack of having funding for other projects. So as a result, the Spark grants were awarded in September. Unfortunately, we were not one of the recipients. The bill that you see in your packet from Pam Blau and Associates in Grand Haven, she was our landscape architect on this project, and her total bill for what was submitted for the DNR bid was $4,350. We've not had a chance to discuss this yet with the Parks Commission, but it's come to my attention that because we are getting a master plan for the park, it would be something beneficial to the county to pay half of this bill to facilitate this going forward. So this will be on the agenda for the county parks next Thursday. I wrote the agenda last night and submitted it to the administrator's office. We'll be discussing this and potentially voting on it in the Parks Commission coming up soon. So I would intend that this would be used, we would use this, pay this invoice out of funds that we already have currently in the Parks Commission. I'm not sure what more I should say about it. It's
Mr. Erickson,
kind of a sticky wicket.
Yes, Mr. Walker.
Mr. Erickson and Mr. McKean, This is a county park.
It is.
And this board was aware that this was going on, that these plans were being drafted. Mr. McKean had brought that to our attention, you know, several times, and he talked about it, you know, and what was going on with it. With those things in mind, I think it's only reasonable that, the county board approve this expenditure. And if we have to amend our budget for the Parks and Recs to pay for it, I think we just need to go ahead and do that.
Thank you, sir.
I concur. One question, if I may?
Please.
Who's covering the other half?
The Crystal Valley Township.
Okay, that's, okay.
That is all the more reason for me.
Yep.
It's a cooperative effort, working with one of our townships, our rural townships. I think that's wonderful.
And if I might add, John Wilson on our Parks Board, 40 years experience in Parks and Recreation, prepared that application for that grant, along with what Pam Blau had done, and did a beautiful job. And according to John, with all of his years of experience, this should have scored well enough to have been granted. And we don't know if it was politics or what it was, but with the demographics that we're looking at in Crystal Valley to make these improvements, it should have been awarded. I don't quite understand why we weren't funded yet either, but well, it's one of our oldest parks. It does have the dam. It's a well-used park. Softball's big in the summer, and Pam's vision with the walking trails and the other additions and changes in the park, they were beautiful. It is a future vision. So the money's not lost or wasted. It's been spent in planning for the future. So,
Mr. Erickson, I think that one thing was interesting. I was looking at the list again. It was on the Marquette website, for their news website, of the grants that were awarded in the UP. And just about every one of those grants for this money, it was not the first time they've applied. They were, you know, they were denied before, and they came back again. And I don't know if that's the way it works, Gary. Is that common that you have to reapply quite often?
We actually, if I could, we actually were gonna apply, we thought we might get a shot at it on the second round. We thought for sure the third round would be better. But what happened is the state decided to only allow 30 different entities around the state to apply for the last leg of the 60 million. We were not one of those. The other problem that came about, there were 450 applications for $20 million. They awarded 31 applications. It wound up being about $22 million. Very little was in West Michigan. The closest was Windsor Dick. They got $37,000 for planning of some type of planning event, which wasn't even in the document. There was no word whatsoever about planning as far as getting a grant for planning. But they got $37,000. But the UP scored very well. The UP got quite a bit of a large part of that grant area.
You know, sometimes I almost wonder, when we look at prisons that have closed in the UP, and the copper mines and the paper mill and all of the industries that have closed in the UP, and we're looking at a 14 to 16% unemployment rate, you just wonder if they take that into consideration. I don't think they're supposed to, but they're putting money, you know, where it's economically depressed a little bit.
Well, we made a gallant effort. John Wilson spent quite a bit of time on this. He also wrote one took him 2.5 weeks to write one for the Hart to Pentwater Trail, which was denied. There also was one from the City of Hart to do some urban renewal in the City of Hart. And I believe there was a fourth one written as well within the county. It might have been Shelby, but I'm not sure. I might be mistaken, but we didn't do well in that round. But there's always another chance, and there's more grants out there that we'll keep looking for, and we'll see what we can come up with. But exactly, it's important to have a plan to go forward on our parks. We have a good plan at Cedar Point. We have an excellent plan that was developed for Black Lake that's been considered by the Parks Board, and actually it's the second time around grant. And this is now just another one to keep in the file, and it's electronically filed. The county has a copy of it. So appreciate your time. Any other questions? Thank you.
thank you, sir. Consideration to reappoint Bill Adams or Mike Blackburn. Ms. Biard.
I was going through the expirations of some of the, appointments and noticed that these two needed to be reappointed. I reached out to the, building department to see if they wanted to be reappointed for those positions, and she said yes. So I'm asking that we reappoint for these positions, please.
Two very successful businessmen and they've developed and built their own business in Oceana County, very knowledgeable of what they do, and we're fortunate they would accept this. The Board of Appeals meets very rarely, but these guys know what's going on when they meet.
Very good, thank you. Consideration to adopt resolution 23-11, opposing the preemption of locals' control in solar and wind siting and zoning. Ms. Biard.
If you recall, this was brought up at a previous meeting. Mr. Begg suggested that this be brought to the board for consideration. So I am bringing that to you for approval, for consideration.
Mr. Erickson, if I could add to that?
Yes, sir.
Just was texting with Representative Vanderwall this morning about that, because it was supposed to be, both the septic and this one was supposed to be on there, supposed to be voted on this week, but neither one has been brought to the table yet, which is good news, because that means that they don't necessarily have the full support on the supporting side doesn't necessarily have full support, which is a good thing. And he said, let them know, let you guys know that John, Senator Bumstead, and he are working hard to get the opposing members on our side of these bills, at least some of them. All it takes is one in the House. That's really all it takes. And some of them are rural area. They cover rural areas, some of the Democrats, so.
Phil? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Phil, wasn't this legislation introduced by a legislator from Sterling Heights?
I believe so, yeah.
Same as the septic
Oh, yeah.
septic inspections. The southeast corner that probably people never been in rural Michigan.
Right. But the strange thing is to me, is like even the Traverse City representative is supporting this, and she covers a lot of rural area. Same with the Marquette County gal. She covers a lot of rural area, but yet they're still supporting it so far. So it just takes one.
Marquette County is the only Democratic
No, I'm
county.
talking about.
Marquette County is the only Democratic county in the UP.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably doesn't want to break ties.
Yeah. So this is worth it for me, for us to pass this. Hopefully it makes a difference.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And resolution 2023-117, this would be to accept bid proposals for snow plowing and removal services for the 2023 and 2024 winter season. Ms. Biard.
We had two proposals come in, the same proposals that we received last year, there's 4 separate locations. The 2 bids that came in, one is for the first 2 locations, and then the other one is for the last 2. Amy has a copy of those and can give you the quotes that we received, the information on those. One was Halleck and the other one was Beckman.
So Halleck for location 1 was $150 per snow plowing and $84 for salting. For location 2 from Halleck was $88 per snow plowing and $54 for salting. Location 3 was from Beckman's, and that's $36 per snow plowing and no snow removal, no salting. Beckman's for location number 4 is $44 per snow plowing, no snow removal, no salting.
Traditionally on number 3 and number 4, we don't do snow removal.
Yeah.
There's enough property there that we don't have to remove that.
And they salt their own sidewalks. They salt their own sidewalks then. You said no salt on,
No salting, what required on that, it said, so.
Jimmy, what was for location 2, the snow removal cost?
We do not have.
I don't
snow
have it.
removal cost on that.
What about plowing? I missed that number.
Location number 2 is $88 for
88,
snow
okay.
plowing and $54 for salting. And just so to make you aware, the bid that we received from Halleck is less than it was last year. That went down, Beckman's was up just a couple dollars, but it wasn't significant.
Very good, thank you. Would there be any public comment? Hearing no public comment, we'll adjourn this morning meeting.
Department head.
Department heads. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that the Gales Pond East Walkway is complete now. Blackbird did a great job, getting rave reviews of the peepers that are out there looking at leaves amongst the raindrops. But it's worked out really well, and it was a great use of ARPA money to go forward. We actually will put about $1,300 back in the kitty from what we asked for. Additionally, kidding me, 70's not fun. That was something else I wanted to.
Cedar Point.
Yeah, Cedar Point continues. Pete keeps working away at it, and I had the honor of awarding Pete the Greater Good Award from the Oceana Community Foundation a week ago Monday. Very well-deserved guy, and surprised him totally. It was kind of fun to hold it back from him. Anyway, it was nice to visit with you.
Thank you. Any public comment? Under Sheriff Schiller, do you have anything for us?
not today, thank you though.
Hearing none, we'll adjourn this session. Mr. Hardy.
Yeah, I'd like to call over the Finance and Administration Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. Morse,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Here,
Mr. Beggs,
Mr. Beggs is excused by the chair for family reasons.
Mr. Hardy.
Here. I'd ask for approval of the meeting minutes from October 12th.
So moved, Walker.
Support.
By Walker, supported by Erickson. Any discussion, corrections? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Changes to the agenda.
I would ask that you add, motion 2023-118, approval of the Title 40 contract, and Bill will be discussing that during public comment.
With that change in mind, I have a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll do that, Morse.
I'll support that one.
Moved by Morris, support by Walker. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Is there any public comment at this time for Finance and Administration?
Good morning. Typically, the 40 contract would have been approved prior to this point, back in typically early to mid-September. We're behind a little bit this year. It's no fault of the front of the court, your local front of the court office or anything. There were some language issues between the federal government and the state that had to get resolved with this contract. We're not the only ones that are entering into a contract. This is a 5-year cooperative reimbursement contract that we enter into with the federal government. Basically, whatever budget cost I have, this is a 5-year contract, so whatever cost we have in the budget, we receive a 2/3 reimbursement on that from the federal government. So I'm here to talk about that a little bit, answering questions you might have. I believe the numbers were actually presented to you already, that you may have that. but it's a breakdown for 2024. The reimbursement for next year would be $540,000, $547.55 to be exact. The total contract over the 5 years, the reimbursement that would come back from the federal government is $4.269 million. And as I said, that would be a 5-year contract.
The contract that you gave me yesterday said 2.971,
Yes,
2,971,839
yes,
for
that is,
for the 4 years.
that's for the 4-year.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions?
I don't think we should approve this and take their money. I wondered what type of reaction I would get from that, Mr. Cummings. That's the only reason I said that.
Yeah.
Little red in the face right there.
A little bit, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I was just kidding, by the way, Bill.
I understand.
Let's hope
The other thing that kind of held us up a little bit was the combining the establishment position of the front of from the prosecutor's office to the front of the court office. So that required some additional language to get the reimbursement for that position as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Yard, consideration to adopt revision to the annexation resolution 2309.
As we previously discussed, there was a change that needed to be made to the resolution. Mr. Walker had asked that we contact Shelby, the village of Shelby, and get with the attorney to see if we needed to have a public hearing on this again. We received notification from the attorney yesterday that stated that we do not need to do a public hearing.
If you don't mind,
Go ahead.
my concern was that it have to have posted and everything when we're dealing with property and land and title insurance companies and everything, especially after what I've been through in the last 6 months with real estate. So, the village of Shelby sent an email to John Schreier that says, we have the resolution, however, the County Board of Commissioners is asking if we need to go through the public hearing process again because the resolution is being changed. Thank you. John Schreier, their attorney, responded, you do not need to go through the public hearing again. The correction provided is what was adopted by the township and the village. So, it was just a matter that when we're talking about a project and the money involved here, I wanted to make sure we did it right, and we do have a legal opinion. I'll leave that for you, so you have I'll leave that for the clerk, so, but thank you, Mr. Hardy.
Any comments, questions? Okay, moving on. Mr. Yard, consideration of a motion to revise the public hearing motion for the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget and property tax millage rate to be levied from October 26th to November 9th.
I am just asking that the Board of Commissioners allow us to change the public hearing for the budget to November 9th instead of today. Yes. And just to give you a little bit of information on the budget, between Jessica and myself, I think we've got most of all of the changes made and put into the budget. We'll be getting a copy of that to the board so that you can take a look at it. But we'll get the public hearing notice out to the paper today, and so that we can make the deadline.
The reason we had the administrator had to request a change to November is because the Oceana Herald Journal has changed their deadlines on getting notifications in. And we were an hour past their new deadline that they had. So, again, it's incumbent of us to make sure that we do it the right way. So the administrator called and he just decided that, you know, we're better off to go until November 9th. It's not gonna harm anything. All the information is down there and everything.
Anyone else?
It's all good.
All right, moving on, Mr. Biard, consideration to move appropriated funds from the general fund to the public building and improvement fund.
The Board of Commissioners appropriates $200,000 to the Public Building and Improvement Fund each year. And I am asking that the board allow us to move those funds into that fund, from the general fund.
If I may, we have some public improvement projects that are gonna be coming up. And if we put this money into the public improvement fund, it's designated specifically for those projects. So we have a place to draw from to pay for projects going on through the year. You know, instead of having to go to the fund equity and draw out of there. Correct, Tracy? You know, so this goes along with the budget process. There were things we discussed. We're putting the money, we're setting the money aside from, fund equity we have for 2023 for projects for next year and in the future. Some of them are very long range.
It basically addresses depreciation, right? I mean, of our buildings.
It addresses.
Depreciation of our buildings, essentially what we're doing with this.
There's several things that we are going to be, that we need to look at. And by doing this, and we started putting money into that fund, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. We started doing that, knowing that we were gonna have long-range things coming up.
Right.
And when we have long-range things that are, you know, things that we wanna do within 5 years or 6 years, we will have the money set aside to do those things. It's all about planning. It's all about planning for the future and having the money to carry out the plans.
No, I think and that we should do it. It's fiscally responsible and wise to steward it with.
I'm glad the administrator brought this up, you know, because it went past me during the budget process. She brought it up that we, you know, have been doing that in the past.
You see what I'm saying?
I noticed that too.
It's a duplicate.
Yeah. 115 and 115 and 112.
Be a correction,
2023,
right, yeah.
115 on the finance, it's a duplicate of another,
Right.
of what I just talked about.
Mr. Biard, consideration to reappoint Lee Oaks, DO as the medical examiner for a 4-year term to expire on October 1, 2027.
Again, our medical examiner's, appointment is, it expired on October 1, and we're asking that you reappoint for another 4-year term for that position, please.
Any comment?
And not to confuse the two, they're two different entities. The medical examiner and the medical investigators, they're two different groups. But I know that Undersheriff Scheller is one of the medical investigators, and there is a very, very good relationship between the two existing. Is that correct, Undersheriff Scheller?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Dr. Oaks has been serving as our medical examiner for as long as I can remember, so yeah, it's a good thing.
And it's one of those things, if it's not broke, let's not fix it.
Anyone else? All right, moving on, Mr. Biard, consideration to appoint Jennifer White as the chief clerk deputy magistrate.
We received a request from the magistrate for district court that, we appoint Jennifer White as the chief clerk deputy magistrate for the district court.
Is that one of those appointments that the district judge actually does that we have to confirm? Is that the?
That is the way that, I understand it, yes.
So we're actually, by making the appointment, we're confirming what the district judge has, there's a couple things that are kind of strange that the judges do the actual appointment, but we have to confirm, and I think that's one of them.
Yes.
All right, just for clarification, the next line item on the agenda, the 2023-115 is actually a duplication of the 2023-112, so pass that. Administrator Biard, administrator's review of selected claims for payment.
Those have been provided for you. I'm not gonna go through those, but they are there for your review. Is there any questions on those?
Yeah. What, Mr. Hardy, was it here that I saw that we had a bill for maintenance on one of the marine patrol boats? Or was that last month that I saw that?
I don't remember seeing it on this.
It might have been under the approval that we'll do at the regular meeting too.
That's a possibility.
And I was just curious, did you have major work done at emergency services for one of our boats?
Trying to think back.
You probably see so many come across the desk, it's hard to remember the specific one.
It was that emergency services though?
Yeah.
I can look and,
No, I'm just curious if there's a problem with, what,
I don't see anything in the,
okay.
accounts payable either.
Mr. Hardy, I must have been looking at something else.
Okay. Ms. Biard, the administrator's report.
Oh, just a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a minute. Number,
I see it.
331.
331.
Emergency services, equipment and maintenance, $4,527.31, on page 21 in your packet.
Yep.
I think that was, I think we had an aft bar installed on that one of those, on one of the Zodiacs. Yeah, on one of the Zodiac boats, an aft bar. So it included a part. I do know that, or they included the bar itself, and they did the installation. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it at
Yep.
all, it's just that I saw it and
Yeah.
I didn't think we got any new boats or anything.
no, sir.
Well, that was on the new Zodiac.
Yes, correct. Yep.
To correct the
Yes.
lighting problem.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy, thank you, Under Sheriff.
Ms. Biard, administrator's report.
So I have provided a report for you, but I have several things that I want to talk to you about on top of that. So we received, during our budget process, we talked about the water softener for the sheriff's department, and we have received a bid from the company that quoted the plumbing for the sheriff's department, and that bid came in at $42,452, which is roughly half of what was quoted initially. So, I don't know if the board would want to include this on, in the upcoming budget, if you, want to put that under ARPA, under public building and improvement, how would you like me to proceed with that?
Well, the other, monies that were approved for the plumbing repair, did that come out of,
Public building and improvement,
yeah,
and the generator was from ARPA.
thoughts?
Is the plumbing work and the water softener all gonna be done at the same time? You coordinate them so they're all done at the same time, is that your wishes, Under Sheriff?
So talking with Brian and just looking backwards into repair history, we believe it would be best if the water softener project was done first with the new plumbing parts installed, as soon thereafter. The concern would be to install new plumbing parts, mixing valves, which are significantly expensive, and then wait to install a water softener system, because really it's the hard water that's it's causing a lot of the grief. So I think the thought would, or the preference would be is to, if we can do them at the same time or close to the same time, that would be best, but it would be even better to have the water softener system installed first.
I question the need for the water softener originally. And Brian, I'm sure you talked to the undersheriff, and when I saw the photographs of everything of the calcium and everything building up and the damage it is doing, it's obvious that, surprising, but it's obvious that we have to have a water softener. I'm very happy to see that it's half the price of the original one that was bid. And Scheid is a very reputable company. They know what it takes to do it. But
Well, that will also, in my knowledge of the water softeners, will actually help clean out the lines as well over a period of time. That will help.
It'll flush.
Remove some of those deposits.
My thoughts, if I may, Mr. Hardy, my thoughts is if we use ARPA funds to pay for the water softener, and we let the undersheriff and Brian decide the sequence on how they actually do the work. We'll use the plumbing repairs and stuff, we'll do all the building improvement. And, and the building improvement funds wouldn't come until after the first of the year. But however they wanna coordinate them and however they wanna do them, sometimes there has to be a little bit of caution, because if you put a new water softener in, it's gonna be flushing things through the lines, you may start plugging up lines too. It may do things, but I think it would be reasonable to let the maintenance department and the undersheriff, do it and what works best for them.
Well, long term, it's a good solution to help.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I may, totally agree with what Chairman Walker's saying. Sounds like it's needed. I agree, ARPA money, and here's my main reason for that is we lose control of that ARPA money in 2 years. Our own capital improvement, our general fund, we don't lose control of that in 2 years, so let's spend ARPA money.
I agree.
Good point, Phil.
Do you need to write a resolution for that then?
No, I'll just, because I'll incorporate it in the budget.
Okay.
You will see that when I provide you the budget, but you'll be approving the entire budget, so that will be your approval during that time, yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Lastly, if I may say, knowing how the supply chain is for things right now, it may be such a thing that the undersheriff and the maintenance department wanna notify the vendor, because this is a bid price, and, he may wanna get that equipment into his shop, and I personally don't have a problem if they order the equipment at this price, because there's so many things that are starting to go back up in price again. And if we wait until January 1st with the equipment, we may see a $5,000 or $10,000 increase in that price. I think we should just contact approve it, and let the people doing the work contact the vendor and tell them it's been approved, and whenever they wanna start doing it.
I wanted to touch on the hazard mitigation plan just a little bit, because from what I'm understanding, there are about 11 entities within the county that are not participating with the hazard mitigation. Colfax, Crystal, Ferry, Grant, Greenwood, Hart Township, Hesperia, the village, Newfield, Otto, Walkerville, the village, and Weir Township.
It really surprises me that some of these fire chiefs have been involved, with some of the township have been involved in this hazardous mitigation plan, and those townships are not participating with it. The fire chief should know, again, can I ask the undersheriff, they should know how important this is that they apply for these, you know, at least participate, don't you think?
I would think so. Yeah, it surprises me how many townships are not on board.
That's why I say you heard as well, because I actually forwarded that information to Ross Plain and.
Well, it's not, it's
the
Hart
town-
Oh, it's
Township.
just our
Township,
township,
yeah.
Hartson.
Yeah.
Okay.
I reached out to the village of Rothbury, and clerk from the village of Rothbury called Troy 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
And got the paperwork and got things done, and said it wasn't difficult.
Now, when they say not to participate, it just means they haven't heard from them, right? Doesn't mean necessarily that they said, we're not participating, correct?
Yeah, they haven't heard back from them at all. So, I just wanted to point that out. I'll get with Troy and see if there's more that we can do to persuade them to.
I reached out to people I could reach out to, and now I think if there's going to be, for the District 5, if anybody's gonna reach out to those people, I would rather see it be our emergency manager, and just, you know, let him contact them and say, if there's a natural disaster, you're not entitled, you're not eligible for federal funds if you're not part of this. You know,
Right.
it's gonna have to be a point blank conversation that you will not be eligible.
Mr. Hardy.
Yes, of course.
MTA president, Mr. Raffaelli is also reaching out to them. We're in, like, it's happening, like, as we speak, probably, so hopefully that will help as well.
I talked a little bit about the transfer station, but wanted to say that, I have been in touch with Mr. White. Phil gave me his information, and I have put him in touch with American Classic, and, he said that he welcomes a phone call from them, and it will most likely end up in a tour of, or them coming to inspect the scales, because Vaughn was honest and said he doesn't know a lot about the scales either, but if we can get somebody in there that knows, has a little bit of information or knowledge, what we will need and what it needs, then it'll give us an idea of what we can put out there for a bid.
So there is a possibility that we could get a scale from Valley City.
Yes, there, and it's an underground scale, so,
It's a drive across.
yep,
When they were foundry and accepted steel, the big double bottom and iron, this big double bottoms weighed in and weighed out, and that's how they got paid. It's all a digital scale, it's all up on the side of the building, the weight of them.
so we're working on it, and hopefully we can get something on that. And the last thing I have is that, I just would like to encourage you all to take a walk around the building today. I don't know if you noticed, some of the doors are
Oh.
decorated, but we're having a door decorating contest along with a Halloween costume contest, next Tuesday. You are welcome to join us from 11 to 1 for our potluck, and see everybody dressed up, and we're gonna be giving prizes and all that stuff.
I wore my mask today.
So, and that's all I have.
And Kurt Loman's gonna put on a costume, he's gonna make sure you.
Oh, hey, I'll come too.
Last, the new ad on the agenda, which is the, Title 4D, the Cooperative Reimbursement Agreement Motion 2023-18. Mr. Yard, I don't know if we need to add anything to that. or-
Nope, I gave you a copy of that motion already, so,
I think
and
everybody has that copy.
Bill provided you that information, so we should be good for
Okay,
that.
any questions or comments?
Well, we will need to add that to the agenda for the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, and
Might need to add.
I understand that, we have to do your signature on egrams, but, and they tell me that you have a login, and I said, well, that was done before I started working here, and I don't have that information, so we're gonna have to work with MGT and see if maybe they can help us figure out a login for you.
Did I just hear a jet fly over somewhere? I said I couldn't reach up and touch.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm,
We'll get you taken care of.
I'm sure between the administrator's office and IT, they can bail me out again.
Well, not a problem. We'll take care of you.
Super.
That being said, Mr. McKean mentioned to me that they are awarding a contract down at, accepted one down at, Marshfield Dam that we have already approved. And it's working real quick, but it's gonna require my signature. So I told him just to give me a call when he gets the paperwork. It's already been approved by this board and everything, so that one, just so you know, I'm gonna be signing that one. Correct, Gary?
Okay, moving on, department head reports.
That was my 3 AM wake-up call.
Ah, right, Gary.
So we had, the low bidder for the Marshfield Dam removal and the Stony Creek restoration is a company out of Portage, Michigan, by the name of Catskill. They have a lengthy background in this type of work. I've done many projects with the Conservation Resource Alliance and also Windsor Deck and a number of different creeks, the Boardman River up north and many other locations. So we did a walkthrough this past Tuesday, and everybody's on the same plane now as to where soils can go and with the landowners and so on. So the next step, and we're involved in this pretty heavily right now, is the basically doing a dig on the property. They initially did a dig 3 weeks ago, found some Native American artifacts that were looked at and considered. Nobody feels that it's going to require a lot more, a little bit more digging probably, but not to find any type of a long-term problem there. So personally, I would say having grandparents that were from Michigan and great-grandparents and back a long time, I've got a jar in the basement that's loaded with Indian arrowheads, and I can't imagine that there's not much property in Oceana County that doesn't have some type of Indian artifact on it. So that being said, we have to go with what SHPO is asking for. It's going to require a little bit more money, a little bit more paperwork, but we feel pretty confident that this will hold up the project. April 15th is still the date we're looking at. I was at the Road Commission meeting yesterday. They're also getting, they're going to be rebidding their part of the contract. Not sure how that's going to go. They only had one bidder the last time. It was significantly more than what they expected. But we're on plane to get everything in line, and hopefully in early spring we'll start to move soil there, and probably by the end of summer we'll have the walkway up, and it'll be a neat spot. It's gonna be a go-to destination in the county when time goes on. It's gonna take a little bit, but we'll get there. It's been 2.5 years. I didn't have gray hair then.
Thank you. I'm sure.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to share, as of yesterday, we were able to formally hire and recertify formerly Trooper Owen McGuigan as one of our deputies. So he has a start date Friday, and so we had to jump through a lot of state hoops to get him recertified, but that's been accomplished and was finalized. And then we have so that he'll start on Friday to fill one of our holes, and we have an interview with the young man on Friday afternoon this week as well to see if that might be a good fit for us. So slowly but surely we're trying to kind of fill some of the gaps that are currently out there. Just kind of a side note, more information to come, but I'm just working through some hurdles of in-car video storage and software licenses, and so I've got to work with Amy from IT and make some decisions. But so there's some. It's a giant task these days of video management, video storage, video redaction, and in-car video. We don't have body worn cameras here at this point, and it just adds another component to it. So just some things that you may see in the near future that
Have you found the new systems, the price has hit inflation rate?
yeah, it's it seems like you know, it probably isn't this way in every industry, but it seems like everything, including a pencil, has to come with a per device, per user, per year service fee, and so it's just the struggles of
Systems we used to buy
Yeah.
for $5,000 or $6,000 or
Yeah.
10 to 12,000 now, plus the cloud time and the
Yep.
storage.
this. So video storage is huge, and that's I think that's probably the biggest component of it. But if you're interested in good football, tomorrow night, go Pirates.
Thank you. Any public comment this time? Hearing none, we will adjourn the Finance and Administration Committee. And we'll take a break until 11:30 for the regular board meeting.
That's first time ever in the
Yeah.
playoffs, huh?
Exciting, huh?
That's great, that's awesome.
So, be the last game. Yeah. I've never seen something.
My husband keeps saying, I'm abreast of,
It's crazy.
not that I don't hear it,
Where's the game tomorrow night?
Is that hard?
of the local football, the schools around here. Yeah, I see Hart won, or so-and-so lost to so-and-so, or, I'm like, yeah, you need to get over here so we can go to a football game.
Whitehall is really good this year.
Kansas City?
It might have been.
That's cool.
I forget.
No, it's good. It's good stuff.
And they won the cross country meet last